Alright, so we're going to be reading this chapter book, Hank the Cowdog. The Future Adventures of Hank the Cowdog. Chapter 1. It's me again, Hank the Cowdog. As I recall, it was the 14th of May when the silver monster bird swooped down on the ranch and threatened us with death and destruction. Or was it May 15th? Could be the 16th. Anyway, silver monster birds are huge creatures with bodies that's long and skinny and resembles the body of a snake, which makes me think that might be a crossbreed between a bird and a reptile. The heart sort of confirms. Start over. It's me again, Hank the Cowdog. As I recall, it was the 14th of May when the silver monster bird swooped down on the ranch and threatened us with death and destruction. Or was it May 15th? Could have been the 16th. Anyway, silver monster birds are huge creatures with bodies that's long and skinny and resembles the body of a snake, which makes me think they may be a crossbreed between a bird and a reptile. The head sort of confirms that because it's sharp nose with two wicked eyes. In other words, it ain't your usual bird head. Oh yes, did I mention that it doesn't have a beak? No beak whatsoever. That's a pretty important clue right there. It ain't natural. Show me a bird without a beak, and I've got some questions to ask him. Another thing about the silver monster birds is they have shiny feathers. Not your usual dull brown or glossy black, but bright, shiny silver feathers. And lots of monster birds will have white markings on the side that resembles a star. They have big drooping wings with several things growing out of the underside. I call them things because they don't have a technical term for them yet. Whatever they are, starlings, blackbirds, and sparrows don't have them. They might be poison stingers. I don't know. These silver monster birds don't flap their wings. They glide like a buzzard or a hawk. And did I mention that they roar? Yes, they roar. And I mean loud. Your ordinary bird doesn't do that. He might chirp or squawk or sing a little tune, but very rarely find one that roars. It roars. That makes the silver monster birds a little scary. It takes a special kind of dog to stand up there and roar, hold his ground, and keep on barking. I suspect that even some cow dogs would run from that terrible sound. But on this ranch, we don't run from danger. We run to it. Anyway, one day last week I caught a silver monster bird trying to slip into the ranch. He should have known he couldn't get away with it. I mean, that roar is a dead giveaway. My ears are very sensitive to that certain sound, and there aren't too many roars that get past me. Drover and I put on a long night patrolling headquarters, fairly routine, as I call it. About the only excitement came from a little after midnight when Drover got into a scuffle with the cricket. I told him to save his energy for bigger stuff. I mean, crickets, they cause a certain amount of damage around the place, but they ain't what you'd call a major threat. I figure Pete can handle the cricket department, and we'll take care of the more dangerous assignments. Of course, the problem with that is that Pete won't do it. Too lazy. He's a typical cat. I don't want to get started on cats. Anyway, Drover and I came from the night patrol and bedded down under the gas tanks. I stretched around my gunny sack and it got fluffed. Oh my gosh. And it fluffed up just right and had curled up for a long nap. When all at once I heard it. My right ear went up. My ears are highly trained, don't you see? They sort of have a mind of their own. I can be dead asleep, lost in a beautiful dream, but those ears never sleep. They never go off duty. This is fairly typical, your blue ribbon, top of the line cow dogs. I suppose I was dreaming about Beulah again. Darn woman. It's hard to get off my mind. I don't let that woman distract me during my work hours. But sometimes I just lose control when I'm asleep. I mean, a guy can keep his iron grip on if only so long. Every once in a while, he kind of goes to seed. Well, I heard the roar. My right ear went up. My left ear went up. I glanced around. Beulah? My sawed-off, short-haired, stub-tail assistant lifted his head and stared at me. I'm not Beulah. I'm Drover. I studied the runt for a second, and my head began to clear. I know who you are. How come you called me Beulah? I didn't. I'm almost sure you did. Drover almost sure might be close enough to some lines of work, but in security business, you have to be positive. You need to work on that. Okay, Hank. Now, what's that noise? Drover looked up in the trees and rolled his eyes. I don't hear any. And right then, he heard a roar. His eyes got big as saucers and started to shiver. What is that, Hank? I don't know, but we're fixing to find out. I've got a hunch that it's a silver monster bird. I turned my head for just a second. When I looked back, Drover was gone. At first, I thought he might have headed for the machine shed, and then I saw that his gunny sat quivering. Get out from under there. We've got work to do. I'm putting this ranch under red alert. But Hank, that thing roars. The roar was getting louder all the time. Come on, son. It's time for the battle situation. If that bird lands, it's liable to fight us to death. But Hank, my foot hurts. I got a headache. I took the corner of the gunny sack in my teeth and I jerked it away. And there was Drover, my assistant, head of ranch security, quivering like a tub full of raw liver. Get up and stay behind me. This ain't a drill. This is red alert. Okay, Hank, I'll try, but red alert's pretty serious, isn't it? Oh, my foot hurts. I took the lead and I went streaking out into the pasture south of the house, and I headed straight for the big dead cottonwood between the house and the creek, and I set up forward position. I could see him coming in low over the hills and heading straight toward us. It was the silver monster bird, all right, one of the biggest I'd ever seen. He had his big droopy wings and his big eyes were going back and forth across the ground. He was looking for something to swoop down and kill. I could see that right off. I mean, if you've seen that many monster birds as I have, you sort of learn to read their thoughts. This one had murder on his mind. Okay, Drover, listen up. I don't want to repeat myself. We've got steers in the home pasture. That's what the monster bird's after, them steers. He's going to try to swoop down and pick up a steer and fly off with him. Drover's teeth were chattering. A whole steer? Yes, sir. They dive down and snatch them up, and they eat them in the air. I mean, bones and hair and teeth, ears, tails, everything. It's our job to keep him from doing that. What would he do if he caught the dog instead of the steer? We don't have the answer to that question. I'd kind of like to know before we do anything rational. Use your imagination. My leg hurts. Hank, I think I better stand your ground and listen. When I count to 3, we'll go over to the top and let him have it. Don't say anything back. If he comes low enough, we'll try to grab him. Grab him? But Hank, what do we do with him? I studied on that for a second. I hadn't thought that far ahead. I guess just bite and scratch and fight for your life. You ready? No. Well, ready or not, this is it. Combat, red alert. I peeked over the top of the log. He was heading straight toward us. Oh my gosh, Hank, look how big he is. And his eyes and his wings are smoking. 1, Hank, my leg. 2, it's killing me. 3, attack, Drover. Charge. I leaped over the dead tree and I threw myself into the monster bird's path. It was him or me. And I bared my fangs and I set up the ferocious bark. Probably the ferocious bark I ever made. The roar was deafening. I mean, it shook the ground. Never heard anything quite so loud or frightful in all my career. No ordinary dog could have stood his ground against that thing. But he kept coming, so I leaped in the air and I snapped at him another foot or 2, and I might have put fangs locked on him. But when he saw my teeth coming at him, he made the only sensible decision and quit the country. I mean, he pointed himself north and evacuated. He never even looked back. The smoke of the roar faded into the distance. Do you see what it is? It's an airplane. Silly Cowdog. I mean, he pointed himself. Oh, I already read that. And you don't ever try that again, I yelled at him when he went past. Next time you won't get off so easy. I turned to Drover. He was lying flat on the ground with his paws over his ears. His eyes were shut tight. He wouldn't get no medals for bravery. Or at least he didn't run. Okay, Drover, you can come out now. Are we dead? Nope. Against near possible odds, we just whipped that silver monster bird. Drover cracked his eyes, looked around in the full circle, and sat up. How bad was it? How bad? Almost beyond description, Drover. When he had me in his claws. He had you in his claws? No fooling. You didn't see it? Yep. He had those enormous claws and big hooks on the end, and he reached down and grabbed me. What did you do? What did I do? Well, I called on an old trick that my granddaddy once told me about. I tore off his whole leg, left him with a bloody stub. You did? Certainly did. Why do you think he flew away in such a hurry? I mean, that bird was scared when he left out of here, and I have my doubts that we'll ever see him again. Drover looked around. Where's the leg? Oh, it's around here somewhere. We'll run into it one of these days. Can't miss it. Heck, it was almost as big as this tree. You want me to look for it? Not now. I don't know about you, Drover, but I'm ready to shower out and shut her down for a few hours. I think we've earned ourselves some sleep. And with that, we headed for our favorite spot on the ranch, the place just west of the house, where the septic tank overflows and forms a beautiful pool of green water.